Who has the first hot take for this episode?
I can do it. Whatever. I can start with mine.
Take it. If it's as good as your Twitter has been lately, Kassad, we're in for it.
It's so like crazy. That's what's happening on Twitter. Did you see that shit? It's like such an easy thing.
What's crazy is you on Twitter, Kassad. That's what's crazy.
Maybe a little bit. But anyway, the major episode or major edition of the episode of Hot Take Point Made, we're going to start with something that people don't expect. And I'm going to go, and this is where, like, with me calculating all the odds, the form, the form, the current form of the players and blah, 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 whatever, right? And I'm going to say this.
It's going to be something mental like 3D Max is making the semi-final of the minute. Go on, hit me with whatever nonsense take this is. Come on. What have you figured out? What have you figured out, sir?
Falcons are winning the major.
Oh, how dare you say that after what you've done on this show for the last fucking 2 years or whatever.
I know.
And then here's the thing. If they win the major, though, your first tweet has to be like, well, like $15 million, all you have is one major. Like, that has to be the next thing. Surely, just to be on brand, that has to be the take the second after they win the major.
Of course. I mean, what else?
Go on then, explain to me, what possible number did you find, Mason, that tells me that Falcons is winning the major?
I looked at the most obvious choices, right? Out of all the teams that are kind of contenders on this major, right? We have several. I've looked at the form, the current form. Obviously, we are thinking about Furia, won 4 events. They're in the best form right now in this stage of the season. There are flaws there with like Molodoi being on his prime, the vibe of the major being completely different than any other event, and the pressure being completely different. We have Spirit in their game right now, which is flawed to say the least. After they brought in the 2 new players and the way they brought him in and integrated in the team is not to my likings at all. I think people will agree, and the results will speak for themselves. That's another team. Mouse, you don't really count Mouse on anything at this moment because they have problems of their own. If we go into that discussion, it's going to last for 30 minutes at least. Then you have Vitality, who had the first season which was completely out of this fucking world, right? And then the second season or the second part of the year is something different. They keep losing the best of 5s. They're not winning titles. They're struggling. The individual players are not hitting their form like they did in the first part of the year. And it's like all of that. And of course, we have the element of experience in the whole majors, right? And who has the more experience, who has the most, who has the least of these candidates. That's going to be like who performs well on stage, who isn't. Like all these things and all these calculations, and the fact, like, the stock is so low right now of Falcons and the odds are going to be so low that, with all the reasoning and all the reason behind it, you have to take it. Just to like reaffirm and confirm my choice here, I'm going to put money. I'm going to put actual money on Falcons winning it. If I can find a place to that's going to take it, right? I don't know. I looked for it, but I couldn't find it yet. But if I do find it, I'll put some money, and I can
maybe tell you one. I think I've seen one that you can do it, so I'll tell you.
Yeah, I'll post it publicly just so people know that I'm not fucking around when it comes to this. But I do think, reasonably speaking, right? This is not me like yelling at Falcons or Zonic or whatever the fuck, right? Reasonably speaking, looking at the form, looking at the players individually, looking at the timing and everything else together combined, the biggest chance right now to win the actual major, the biggest odds, the highest probability, whatever the fuck you want to say it, is Falcons right now. They have everything they need right now. Even though there is one small thing that I haven't mentioned is like that's going against them is the fact that they decided not to bootcamp before the major. That can be a really like a double-edged sword. It can blow back so hard. They fall in the group stage. They lose. They have the opening match against Bait, which is a terrible matchup. In a best of 1, you don't want to play them. You don't want to play those kind of teams. But when you have to, you have to. It can start badly. They can drop out. They can be 1-3 like they did in the whatever the major was, and it can blow back hard on them, right? But it can also be a good side where you actually accomplish what they want to accomplish, rest, get mentally and physically ready for the challenge of all these teams and actually win it. Because they have been close in many events. Even myself, who is like a professional hater of Team Falcons, have to kind of agree that they had so many close finals, semi-finals, games that if they had something more going for them, a little bit more, we would be saying like they won 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Sadly, or fortunately in my favor, they won 0. So, So, like I said, this is just reason talking out of me. I looked at it logically rather than
emotionally.
Yes.
Okay. Go on, Barry.
All right. Keeping up the machismo, I suppose. So I looked at all the futures odds before the tournament started, and on a couple different websites, it was roughly speaking for Falcons 3.7 odds. So, they were tied with Vitality on the two websites that I looked at. Furia were the favorites at 2.75 roughly. So I don't think it's a crazy underdog pick. I mean, if you made any of the picks the S tier entering this tournament is Furia, Falcons, and Vitality. But I feel like it's hard to gauge without being in their camps to see what did they do. And that's where the fun of predicting is, because we don't really know. I don't know how serious they got. We do know that Falcons didn't do an in-person boot camp. I don't necessarily always think you need to, though. For example, 3D Max just came off of winning that 2-2 game versus NIP, and they just only prepped online, but they've actually significantly changed a couple of the maps in their pool and how they play them. So you can go over theory and play online scrims, and it still can be effective. I feel like what sucks about Falcons is it's also incredibly hard to qualify what is going wrong with them, because they get so close consecutively in these elite tournaments, but then they fall off just in the smallest ways, whether it's Nico not performing on the final map, whether it's them choking a 2-man advantage post plant. These kind of issues consistently rear their heads. And for Furia, to their credit, I don't think it's a hot take necessarily to say they're the favorites, because by bookmakers, they are the favorites. The stability of the team is surprisingly commendable. And so that's kind of the one missing aspect of Falcons has just been stability or composure, where other teams have already shown that throughout the year. Vitality's obviously shown that in 8 tournament wins this year. Fury has shown that in 4 tournament wins this year. Falcons, they haven't shown it, and especially on this kind of stage, I feel like the likelihood that they show it would have been so nice for them if they won Hong Kong. I'll say that. If they won Hong Kong, I probably would be all in on Falcons, but sometimes it's just breaking that barrier is something you really need to do at a tournament that isn't the major first, so that you can ramp up into it and prove to yourself you can be winners too. That's my piece on that.
I actually think this is go on.
Just a short sentence, sorry. Is like when you mentioned 3D Max, the reason why they didn't go to boot camps and they went a little bit is because they went Europe, China. I think that was the reason, because they stopped it. They were too tired. They couldn't handle it. They didn't plan their tournaments well. So they ended up going left, right, and that's why they did it. So sorry, Duncan, go.
I actually think it's quite a good hot take, but also just a good point. So it's a rare instance of where it doesn't have to be crazy spicy, because obviously the main spice here is 2-part. One, Kassad's obviously the guy who in theory is the Falcons hater, so people just wouldn't expect you to say that they would win the major. And then 2, they haven't won a trophy with this lineup. So even though they have all the other attributes in theory, it is a good hot take anyway, even if they are third in betting odds or tied for second, etc. Because I actually do think that's an interesting detail. Is I can talk myself in or out of this take. I've thought about it myself before the major, because when I did counterpoints with Pimp before this major, we did this discussion of who's likely to win, etc. And the funny thing is, I actually am of a similar mind to Pimp. I still, if I put it this way, it's different to do, like we're saying, betting odds, or if you were to put all the reasons on paper. What I always pick at the end is I do that logic of if I really had a gun against my head and I die if I get it wrong, who does my gut tell me I trust? That's actually, I think that's a pretty good sort of it ties in your intuition. I'm sorry, my gut still tells me I would take Vitality still. I still think they'll be the ones that'll somehow get it done. By the way, BO5 final also means I actually don't think any other than these 3 teams can win. I think people are forgetting that detail. It's a lot easier to fluke pages in the past. So With that said, obviously they've had their weaknesses, but I also think they've also been incredibly close. They could have won like 3 events in a row, like they really could have. So, but the reason why the Falcons one is good is because if I talk myself into it, it's easy. I go, the firepower can literally all turn up at the same time. That's what normally never happens in super teams. I've seen games literally, we've seen it in group stages tons of times, by the way, where JerCkysMiNi0n, Nico, and m0NESY all came at the same time, and basically they just 13-6 any motherfucking team that walks in the server, which was obviously the dream of making this roster in the first place. So that's real. That does happen sometimes. Then, as I say, when they win, they don't just win, mate. They don't win like 13-10 all the time, like Paravision and fucking Furia. They 13-6, they 13-4. This team can destroy, in theory, almost anyone. But the problem then becomes, like I said, we've never actually seen this lineup lift the trophy. So that somehow there is like a security in knowing someone's done it even once. That I get. By the way, it does help me that Vitality did win that one trophy. That makes me at least think I can visualize how they would win it. But then the other thing that obviously makes this a really good hot take, I think, but a scary hot take, is right on paper, m0NESY is the best player in the world right now. But I always think that one of the most underrated takes is, I'll tell you another reason why m0NESY should be Nico's best friend. Because Nico takes all the flack for the fails at these massive fucking tournaments and majors. If you ever go back, yeah, we can all remember Copenhagen where m0NESY probably was the best player. But aside from Copenhagen, boys, there have been some majors where m0NESY also was choking his tits off. The difference is in the early days, he was super young and inexperienced, so we gave him the break. And all eyes are on Nico. The whole thing with Nico is the entire sentence right now in Nico's career is didn't win the major. m0NESY, he hasn't had enough years to where that's like the ultimate failure. Like, it'd still be fine for him if he won 2 years from now. Like, it's reasonable to win at that sort of age. So I actually feel like that's the thing I'm concerned about. One, I have seen Nico choke the fuck out of a bunch of these majors. And then 2, I still don't know yet which m0NESY turns out. I feel like he's more of a coin flip. I might get the awesome m0NESY who can be the MVP. If so, by the way, they have an excellent chance, like we're saying. If he does anything bad, though, at this major, and he's not like those other tournaments, then immediately the legs are chopped out. I don't think they can do it. So I think it's a good take. And by the way, here's the part that I said on the thing. I have Vitality first. This is the other take Pimp had that was like a mildly spicy one. I also agree with him that of the 3, I actually put Furia third. Now, yeah, listen, I get it that in the same way as Kassad, you're going to go, oh, really, Thorin? You found a way to convince yourself Fallen's team would not win the major. No, but I actually think for real, one, they win too close. And I know that, listen, that can be a great calling card, but they've only done it for a few events so far. They're not like actually Fnatic or FaZe or something where, they do it every time. How did they do it? The crazy magic. And crucially, guys, none of that was at a major. The last major I saw this roster at, I still, to this day, can't believe they lost that match to Pain. I thought that was one of the freest quarterfinals I've ever seen. I thought they should have been in the final, bro. Like that roster could actually have come online earlier. So that scares me a bit. Like, great, you cook it at all these normal tier 1 lands, but I've got to see it. The majors are different. They just are. And then lastly, that's the reason also why I am a bit worried for Furia, because the guy who shit the bed against Pain was fucking Molodoi. And again, I will not blame Molodoi, by the way, if he doesn't play at his peak CS like he has at his other tournaments in this major. It'll be his second major. As far as I'm concerned, he hasn't even played one real year at tier 1. I don't care that he was on Amcal. So the difference is, because I'll give him the pass, I do sort of feel like Furia, they had their peak. They did that. I think they'll probably be like a semi-team. So you know what? I don't hate it, because essentially I'm saying I have Falcons as my second most likely team to win. If I, again, gun to our head, if I had to pick who gets over the line, I think they'll do it. So I'll take Vitality first. So I disagree in the sense I'll take Vitality, but I don't hate the take. And obviously it's quite interesting in the context of your past history. By the way, 2 things though. One, you do realise you've walked into this one. Here's the obvious thing all the comments will be. They finally got the Saudi bag to Kassad. They added the right number of zeros. They got him in the end. They realised, Kassad, right before they win the major, probably like some FIFA shit when they rigged it, they just we're going to buy off the main hater too, so then it just seems like everything's coming together at the perfect time. The joke is, the day after they win the major, Kassad on his Twitter will just announce, like, Kassad X Falcons, like, betting an esports company launches new consultancy firm to, like, exactly, to, like, the call came through. And then lastly, the other reason why is because also, where was the other thing? Oh yeah, the other thing as well is I said it as a joke earlier, but I want to just ask you this one question back, which is, if they win the major though, because you're saying you'll bet money, but I want to know if you're willing to bet this. If they win the major, because bear in mind, by the way, there's all these other teams, they could easily lose, and if they lose, you don't have to honour this part. But if they win, will you agree to not use that angle I've just said of like, yeah, 10 million, you only got one. Like Australia spent like 3 million, they got like 4. Will you agree not to do that? Will you just honor like, okay, but they did get the major in the end? Will you let sort of, you're like, right, wipe the slate clean, we're starting over. And by the way, will that then make Zonic not a fraud? Exactly, I actually have more questions than answers for this one. Will it make Zonic not a fraud anymore if they win? Will it make it the right move to go there from G2? I'm getting all the past hot takes. Will it make it not a waste of the 10 million if they win? I want to just know that, Cassad.
And I don't know. I
yes, thought about it. Yeah, okay. Depends how he feels on the day when he wakes up, right? Okay.
The thing is, like, I can't. I mean, we like congratulate, like, players. Yes, because winning a major, no matter super strong.
You're not going to do it where you're like, congratulations to all the players. By the way, fuck the all $10 million. You're not going to do that, shit, are you?
Maybe. You don't know.
Oh, no.
The thing is, like, will I be saying that, like, it's like $25 million later and 2 years later, like? Is that real? Is it a real satisfaction? I don't think it is. At least from our point of view. I don't know. It's just I had a much spicier take that I'm gonna save for post major, but like the thing is, like, I need to see what happens on the actual major. I can't agree to that.
By the way, I've even realised something pure banter, and I actually have got a prediction for you because I just know what cocksuckers are like in the world, boys. Everyone mocks Falcons because they keep adding to the CS jersey all the EWC crowns, but not for CS. I bet they won't add the major. They won't add a star because logically they want EWC to be bigger than the major. I think they won't add I think the joke is if they win, they won't add one for the major. They'll just keep the EWC ones because it's sort of marketing for their tournament, isn't it? So I know it sounds mad, but that's actually my mad prediction. There's my mini hot take for you because I sort of feel like that could be real. You know what I mean? And everyone will have to pretend it's totally fine, even though it makes no sense at all. I love it. Also, you've just reminded basically, Cassad, the reason why I'm scared you're going to do that to the org is because it reminds me of what my mate and also an analyst and former CS player Lurpis once did back in the day, which is, if you remember in the early days when NiP was the most dominant team, famously Lurpis, look, he was right. It's just, as usual, like me, he's an asshole, right? When NiP used to win all the tournaments, he used to just say, yeah, but if you look at how bad Fiflaren's stats are, eventually that will catch up to you and you won't win anymore. Like, you should actually probably replace him now, even though you're winning, because you could get an even better player. You could get an AWP, for example, back then. If you remember, he used to AWP, actually. So, because at the time they won, everyone hated that take. And then, because of that, they did that thing where even though Lurpis never had a personal problem with Fiflaren, people made it like, you must fucking, that thing where they go, you must hate him. Did he fuck your mum or something? I noticed, by the way, when they hit on us, we didn't fuck their mums, apparently. Like, you know what I mean? Like, wait how that one works. But they were doing that. So, famously, what Lurpis did when they won the major NiP, and this is, again, like, look, you're not wrong, but you're asshole, is he just did a tweet like, congratulations to @Forest, @GetRight, @Freiburg, @Exist, and then that was just it.
Yes,
exactly. They didn't say anything about Fiflaren. It was like, bro, come on, just give him a crumb of like validation, And then the weirdest thing about that one, by the way, is because years later they were both analysts. They actually both became like quite friendly after that. It was one of those like non-beefs like me and Fallen, believe it or not. But at the time, it was hilarious though. That's what I'm waiting for the Cassad tweet to do. Because low key, part of me does like put it this way: if they ever make the final, win or lose, I want to see what Cassad tweets after that final. I want to know.
Oh my God! I win both ways. Like, I think if they win the major, I was right. Wait a
minute, Bowie. Oh, now he's just giving the whole game away. He's actually he's just set it up, hasn't he? That's why he's done it. Because that way, if they don't win, he gets to go, fucking wasting all that money. And then if he goes, I actually did. He'll even do that thing we do. He'll get this clip and he'll put it on he'll get this clip from the show and he'll put it on his Twitter like, she called it. And it's like, you just made a no-lose situation. Whatever.
That's how you fucking live this life.
Okay.
You have to create opportunities for yourself.
True.
But the thing is, like, I win both ways. If they lose, they fucking get me more ammunition.
Yeah,
if they win, I said, I told you so. Yeah. They'll get the satisfaction of saying, like, you see, fuck you, Cassad, we won. They get to say that, but still, is it good enough?
Okay.
It's always a question.
More cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.